Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
You know what this song is? Because you can't, you don't stop. Who sings the song, Justin?
Beastie Boys.
Oh, Beastie Boys. I think we already had this conversation last week. When you think, retain information. Good morning, Amy Jacobson here. John Anthony and
hello
Dan
there.
Croft. This morning has flown by.
It really has.
As usual.
I'm
But
alive and I'm awake now.
You are.
I'm alive.
You took your sunglasses off.
Yeah, of course.
I hate when you come in with sunglasses.
Why?
Because that means that you're not fully.
No, well, you put sunglasses on the boat yesterday to take a picture with me, and I sang the song. I wear my sunglasses at night.
Well, because I didn't put makeup on, so I'm like, I'll just throw on these fancy shades. Weren't they fancy shades?
Yeah, they were fancy.
It's the fanciest thing I own.
Really?
I got them as a birthday gift
Ooh.
from my divorce attorney.
What were they, Gucci or?
No, they are Gucci.
Oh, they are.
From Michigan Avenue. Thank
Nice.
you.
Look at you.
That's why I never want to lose. I mean, literally, I watch those things like a hawk.
Yeah.
Because no one better touch my shades.
Yeah.
All right, but we're not here to talk
No.
about shades. We're talking
We
about
are
Trump.
talking
We have an
about shades.
election in 48 days from now, and former President Trump was on Full Measure with Cheryl Atkinson.
Yeah.
And she has, 2 assassination attempts. How are you dealing with this? Are you afraid?
I think I'm going to feel safe.
Are you ever scared?
I can't be scared because if you're scared, you can't do your job. So I just can't be.
Isn't that so
Wow.
true?
That's tough. though.
Because if you're scared, you can't do your job. If you play scared as an athlete, guess what? You're going to get beat.
That's right.
If you do your job scared, you're going to get beat.
Yes.
Don't
I
let the
agree.
turkeys get you down.
That's right.
With more on this and Kamala Harris is locking and loading. Let's welcome back to the program Ed Morrissey, senior editor for HotAir.com. Good morning, Ed. How are you?
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, John. I'm doing
morning.
well, thank you.
All right, so Kamala's packing heat. She was on with her bestie, Oprah, and said this because Oprah was floored. Like, somebody who owns a gun is in my presence? Oh, my God.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
I did not know that.
If
And I thought
somebody
that was
breaks in my
powerful.
house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that. I hear that.
Probably should not have said that.
But
My staff will deal with that later.
What was funny about that?
I'm not really sure. Look, I mean, I think that she's trying to sell herself as, every man or every woman, if you will, but that's not how gun owners usually talk.
No, not at all.
No, but do you think she's making up? Because no one even asked her, well, what do you own? When did you buy it? What are you carrying? A 38 Special, a 9mm? And why did you buy it? And what year?
Yeah, I mean, those are the questions. If you're a gun owner, those are the first questions you ask. Really, what do you have?
Right.
I've got this, and because you like to talk about those things. It's a point of pride.
Or her, why? Why did she get a gun? Because I know why I got a gun. Because I had a stalker in Tucson, and that's when I knew because he came early in the morning. I was working early in the morning, and I just knew that if I called Tucson police, and they were great, but they weren't going to get there fast enough to protect protect me. So I had to protect myself.
Exactly. Well, I had an FBI agent tell me the same thing. I had a death threat situation several years ago, and I asked the FBI, got in contact with me about it, and those guys were good guys. And I said, "What should I do?" And he said, "Well, do you carry a pistol?" It's like, no, not at the moment. He goes, "Well, I can't tell you. I shouldn't even suggest it to you, but I would at least look into that possibility." And that's when I started.
Now, Ed Morrissey, who in the world would want to kill you?
Well,
And
I don't want to talk too much about who it was, but it had to do with some of the stuff. It wasn't even something I'd written, but something that had appeared on our website regarding radical jihad, and it was a little homegrown convert who I was one of 15 people on his list. So.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm
that
telling
was
you.
several years ago. That was several years ago, and I've never had any issues with it since. But I still, I still own firearms, and it was one of those situations where I, fully supported the Second Amendment, people's right to carry, and all that. But I just never bothered to do it myself until that came up. And so when you talk with people who are saying, oh, yeah, I have a weapon at home. Really? What do you have? Because I've got this.
Right.
What do you hey, maybe we should go to the range together and check out each other's weapons to see, what we like and all that type of thing. And so it would have been the first question that would have come to mind. Really, what have you got? The second question would have been, and what is your Secret Service carrying? Because
and Oprah guards.
Yeah, and because that's actually who's going to take care of your home security. You are not like everybody else. I'm sorry, but not all of us have Secret Service providing facility protection for us.
But what's the play here? I mean, American gun culture has long been dominated by conservative white men. And so what is this, I'm just like everybody else?
Well, it's
attitude.
interesting that you say that, Amy, because the Wall Street Journal reported, I think it was on Friday, that the fastest growing demographic in gun purchasing is actually Democrats and liberals.
Yeah.
And I think really what that was a way to signal to those voters to say, hey, look, I'm not going to take away your guns, even though I've done nothing but talk about mandatory buybacks for the last 5 years. I'm not going to take away your guns, because I think it's actually now more of an issue with their base than it is with centrists and Republicans.
Yeah, especially in Pennsylvania, places where guns.
Well, in Minnesota too. I don't live in Minnesota any longer, but Minnesota has a very strong and responsible gun culture there.
Right.
And so Tim Walz is very well aware of that.
Well, see, Ed, I don't know what you're talking about. Here in Illinois, I had a boating accident and lost all my guns, so we can't talk about certain guns here in the state of Illinois.
What do you?
Yeah, because of the bill that Pritzker signed, basically,
that's right.
There's certain even shotguns you cannot have, and it's just so unfortunate. But hey, Ed, let's look forward. We got 48 days left to the election.
Yes, sir.
Put on your prognostication hat. How does a Trump become the 47th president of the United States? What's his path to victory in your estimation?
Well, I think it's the same path for both candidates. You got to win Pennsylvania. If you win Pennsylvania, you're probably going to come close in Michigan and Wisconsin, and probably win those two states, or one of those two states as well. Harris can't win without Pennsylvania. Trump can, but it's really narrow. The path gets really narrow. So I think you're going to see a lot of focus on Pennsylvania, and I think that's also part of the reason why all of a sudden Harris is talking about shooting people who come into her house.
I mean, my God, because in
that's what they do in
Minnesota, but in
Pennsylvania.
Minnesota, that's illegal. You have to try and de-escalate the situation first before shooting at them. What's it called?
Duty to retreat.
Duty to retreat. Yeah.
Not in Minnesota. Minnesota, you have they have the Castle Doctrine in Minnesota.
Oh, they
have
do?
it in California too. Yeah, they have it in California too, where you don't have a duty to retreat inside your own home.
Oh, okay.
But I wouldn't want to test that too
I
much
wouldn't either.
because of the, especially where I lived, the DAs. Well, where I lived, actually, the DA was pretty good. But I mean, if you're in the metro area, you're more likely not to draw a progressive DA who'd be more inclined to prosecute you than to recognize the fact that you were defending yourself.
I think about Kamala Harris. Her first decision in her campaign was to pick her VP running mate.
Right.
Thank God she wasn't bright. Thank God she didn't pick Governor Shapiro, because I don't like his policies, but I like him.
He's a likable guy, and he's
smart.
Guy. He's a smart guy. Yeah, he would have made a very. I think that was the problem. Is that he's smart. He's a lot smarter than she is, and I think it would have started to come through. But still, I mean, the point here is to actually win. And so picking the progressive governor of a state that really should already be in your column is an older guy, a guy who comes across looking like, Grandpa Fudd.
Oh,
I mean,
it's
a strange choice, right? I mean, it's just, and he was my governor for 2.5 years, right? I moved out in mid 2021. So I got an up close look at this guy, with the snitch line and the authoritarian COVID policies. This guy is a disaster, and
he let Minneapolis burn.
And I was just about to say that, especially his delay in fully activating the National Guard. He didn't call them in until day 3. He didn't let them do their jobs until day 5.
Right.
By which point in time, most of the city had already burned. The stuff that had burned, most of it had already burned by that point, and it was a complete disaster.
Hey, Ed, you saw that video of cops running down the street shooting tear gas at people that were on their front porch? Was that an actual?
No, that was about George
happen?
Floyd, not COVID.
Okay,
But
I
it
get
did
it.
happen.
But why? You can't tell me. I'm on my porch.
Yeah, there was a curfew because of the riot. And this neighborhood was about 2 blocks away from where the riot was. The majority of the riot was taking place,
Yeah.
and they were looking for people that were escaping from the National Guard. And this is the very first night that the National Guard was activated for that purpose.
Yeah.
And so they were looking at all these people that were on their own property and telling them to go back inside the house. And I think that was the National Guard not being very well led. Because they didn't have any. It was paintballs. They were shooting paintballs.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But it looked like a communist country.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, it's a bad look. It was a very bad look, and that's also on Walz too. I mean, he was the governor. He was the guy who had activated the National Guard. Apparently, he didn't give them very good instructions, and that was definitely abusive. And it got attention at the time, not from conservatives, but from progressives who were super angry about that video and wanted a lot of answers as to why they were being shot at for just simply being on their porch. And so, yeah, but it wasn't COVID. It was the riot.
and he acts so good. He acts like at these rallies, he's running around like a crazy man with like jazz hands and running from side to side and like he's hopped up on something. And he's so out of touch. And then he said this over the weekend at a campaign event. Just listen.
Look, Kamala Harris made it clear. These guys want to instill fear. They want to tell you that just get over it. It's a fact of life. This is the way it is. She simply has said it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. We can't afford 4 more years of this, and I've been saying it.
He's been pillarized then, rightfully so, by the right, since he made that declarative statement at the rally in Pennsylvania.
I don't know. I fully agree with them. We can't afford 4 more years of this. It's just that he's the 4 more years that we can't afford because he's running with Kamala Harris, who's been in office for 3.5 years, almost 4 years now. It's so dumb. I wrote about it this morning just because it was so easy to write about. It was so fun to write about. And I'll go even beyond the wordplay here. He's talking about, they're selling fear. They're selling fear. These guys won't even talk about their record. They won't even talk about the policies that they're going to put in place. Their entire campaign is based on be afraid of the orange man. Mm-hmm. Be afraid of the orange man. It doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter anything that we've done in the past. Be afraid of the orange man. You have to vote for us because you can't vote for the orange man. That's their entire campaign. Their entire campaign is fear itself. They're the anti-FDRs. All they have to run on is fear itself. That's who they are.
All right,
so
now,
that's ludicrous. That statement of his is ludicrous.
Kamala Harris over the weekend has confirmed they want to have a second debate on CNN. Here she is.
Join me on the debate stage. Let's have another debate. There's more to talk about, and the voters of America deserve to hear the conversations that I think we should be having on substance, on issues, on policies. What's your plan? What's my plan?
The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started.
So what do you think? Should President Trump agree to take a second debate with Kamala Harris?
I don't know. I mean, I think that really having 2 or 3 debates is a good idea. The problem is that he offered her another debate, and she turned him down. That debate was scheduled for September 4th. He ended up doing a Fox News forum, I think, instead of town hall forum, rather than doing the debate. She wouldn't take that debate, and he's already done one on CNN. He did one on CNN with Joe Biden. So why would he go back to CNN again? I think that if they want to do another debate, it's probably a good idea, but this time it should be under his conditions on Fox, no fact checking, silent mics if necessary, if he likes that. And I think it actually plays well for him to have the mics muted when it's not their turn, and no audience. Let them just be on stage and talk. And I don't think either one of them really have a lot to fear from a debate like that.
Right, I agree.
But will she do it? No, because I think what she's hoping to get is friendly moderators like she got from ABC News. I mean, that was terrible.
Oh.
That was the worst moderated debate I think I've ever seen.
Well, it was an attack job. I mean, that's what that was.
It was 3-on-1. It was 3-on-1. You had David Muir and Lindsey Davis debating Trump, maybe even more than Kamala Harris was debating Trump. It was a terribly moderated debate. And so, look, I mean, I think if you're going to get an honest debate, it might be worthwhile to do it. And Trump might do it, and what he might say is, well, if she really wants one, I'll set one up on Fox. and see whether or not she runs away from that.
Right.
Gosh, it would be a town hall. It would be perfect on Fox.
But I've said when you go back, because I watched the debate and I thought Trump just lost. But then I went back and just listened to it, and I heard no substance. I heard no policy from her. But Trump was actually laying out policy and had substance in that debate. Am I wrong in how I looked at that?
No, but the part was then he said Joe Biden doesn't like you. Wait,
well, he doesn't.
I know, but just and talked about her father, and I don't know. He didn't need to do that.
Yeah. He got distracted, and I think he was looking for lines of attack that really don't make any sense because the issues are so good for him. I mean, the fundamentals in this election are really good. I was looking at the right direction, wrong direction tracker over at RCP this morning, which was part of my thing with Walz. I mean, this is historic dissatisfaction in the electorate. And it has been throughout the Biden-Harris administration. Yeah. That's what you need to run on. That's what you need to hammer. People clearly hate the status quo, so why would they vote for the status quo all over again? If you look at this tracker, they very much preferred the 4 years that Donald Trump was in office prior to March of 2020 when the pandemic broke out. Right. So why not just run on that? You don't need to run on her identity or who her father was or defining who's a Marxist. Let the pundits do that. Let your campaign do that. As a candidate, you should really just be focusing on the issues and policy, especially since your candidate doesn't have anything to offer there.
Why aren't people making more of this ABC News whistleblower who swore under penalty of perjury that Kamala Harris's campaign dictated the terms? They wanted the questions ahead of time. Allegedly, they got them. And that they would not fact-check her, but only fact-checked Trump.
I got to tell you, I'm kind of skeptical about that thing, too. I really am. I'm not sure where it came from. And if I had something like that, I would have gone to Fox News or the Wall Street Journal with it. I wouldn't have gone to a Twitter account with a few thousand people on it. To me, that whole thing smells like it was reverse engineered from watching the debate. And until somebody wants to come forward and put their name on it, or until they have some sort of documentary proof to a established, credible news organization that they are who they say they are, I'm not sure I'm going to put a lot of time or effort into that. Besides which,
do we still have those?
Yeah, well, that's a good point.
We still have those credible news sources?
Come to HotAir.com. Send me your sworn affidavits, people. No, I'm only slightly kidding about that. But look, I mean, I think that we saw what we saw, and I don't think we needed a sworn affidavit to say, look, they were clearly in the tank for Kamala and clearly made the decision that they were only going to fact check Donald Trump, and because we saw it happen in front of our very eyes.
Election interference. All right, Ed Morrissey, we're going to have to leave it there for today. Senior editor for HotAir.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And he did join us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Dan Proft here for Northridge Prep. Northridge Prep is a great place to be a boy. What does that mean exactly? In short, it's thanks to a foundation of an all-boys environment that builds your son up into a man of intellect and character who loves God. The teachers and faculty members become mentors to students. And when you combine that with an atmosphere that's fun, competitive, and challenging, it creates an exceptional experience for your son. And the result is that the boys just love Northridge. They've been educating boys for nearly 50 years,